page and thousands die. And for what? For the pride of two leaders who are inexorably drawn together by the power of two swords and a mutual destiny. And then the sword of frost and Armageddon's blade clash. A blinding flash.
Welcome to GameSpot Live. Today we're talking about Heroes of Might and Magic 4, which is the fourth game in a really long-running strategy series. The Heroes series has been around for about 12 years now. It's developed by New World Computing, which is the same company that created the Might and Magic role-playing games. And interestingly, the Heroes series is always kind of tied in with the Might and Magic games. They've had kind of the same creatures, the same characters, the same magic spells, and so forth. So if you're familiar with the Heroes series, you might know that it's got a really loyal fan following. Very dedicated, sometimes fanatical fan following. And what these fans have kind of demanded of the developers is that they take the series and make it fresh and new, but also keep all the core game elements that they've enjoyed so much. So the thing about the Heroes series is that you basically play as a hero character who starts his base of operations in a single town, and you recruit an army from the town, and you basically explore the maps in search of resources, treasures, artifacts, other monsters to fight, and eventually enemy heroes. And when you play Heroes 4 for a while, you'll find that the game generally stays true to the formula, but it actually adds a lot of new and interesting stuff. In fact, there's so much new stuff that you may kind of find it bewildering at first, and that's one of the few problems you could probably cite with Heroes 4. The developers have tried to basically pack the game really densely full of stuff. Just lots of new items, new magic spells, new skills, new monsters, and new options to play with. For instance, you'll find the option to use quick combat to resolve some easier fights, like in other turn-based strategy games, such as Age of Wonders and Warlords. You'll also find that monsters on the map will move on their own and attack you of their own accord, just like Disciples 2. You'll also find that as you fight and your hero gains experience points and levels, your heroes will learn lots and lots and lots of new skills and spells. Fighting is similar to what it was in the previous games in the series, but you'll find that there are some new tactical options in the game. One thing that you'll notice in Heroes 4 is that instead of developing your town as quickly as possible and buying all the creature buildings that you can, you'll actually be forced to choose between certain types of creatures to join your army. That means you'll have a smaller army, but it turns out that in Heroes 4, all creatures have special abilities. When you do get around to creating your army, you're actually going to have quite a few options, and you'll be able to recruit a surprisingly varied army from the same town. Even though you don't have 13 different groups of creatures on your side, you'll find that you will have a smaller army with lots of different and interesting special abilities, and that actually makes the fighting a lot more interesting than it was in the previous games. Now, that's not to say that Heroes 4 is a completely different game, because it's not. Once you really get into the game and spend some time with it, you'll find that it's pretty similar to the original games, and there's really nothing wrong with that when you get down to it, because the Heroes formula is simple, it's effective, and it's fun. It's really addictive. Each of the game's maps are really well designed. They're just packed with lots of different items and treasures for you to uncover, so that basically you'll find yourself exploring the map, and then you'll find just that one extra gold mine at the very edge of your reach. And then the next turn you'll find that one extra treasure chest, and so forth, until you keep playing just one more turn, and before you know it, it's 2 a.m. As far as looks and sounds go, Heroes 4 is really, really bright and colorful. Maybe a little too bright. It seems like some of the overworld maps might be a little too busy, which is unfortunate. But to their credit, they're also really, really packed with lots of interesting stuff to find and see and conquer and capture. In terms of the monster graphics, unfortunately, it seems like some of the creatures in Heroes 4 don't have the kind of personality that they had in the previous games in the series. But they don't look terrible by any means. They certainly look good enough to serve their purpose. As far as sound goes, Heroes 4's sound effects really aren't anything to write home about, but its music is pretty interesting. What the developers did was they basically took the instrumental score from Heroes of Might and Magic 3, the previous game, and the operatic score from Heroes Might and Magic 2, and they put them both in Heroes 4. That was basically to please the different groups of fans who either wanted opera music or instrumental music. Now you can get it both in the game. There are 6 campaigns and a whole bunch of different scenarios, as well as a campaign editor that you can use to make your own scenario maps or string them together to make your own campaigns. So you're probably not going to run out of things to do for a while. All things considered, Heroes 4 might seem like it's very, very different from the previous games, and it actually does have a lot of new and interesting things to it, but when you get down to it, it still keeps the same formula as the previous games, and there's nothing wrong with that, because it's just as fun as it ever was in Heroes 4. It's well executed, it's deep, and it'll keep you playing until late into the night.